Welcome. We're here to inspire and encourage the entrepreneurial spirit in you. The promise of our show is to introduce you to expert guests who will uncover the secrets of living with favor while building your business. I'm your host, Lisa Mosby. Thank you for tuning in and letting me offer a bit of advice. You know, FAVOR is an acronym that I use in my business. It stands for faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. And this month, we're diving into this Audacious Confidence Series where we touch on all 5 pillars of FAVOR. The series includes topics around givers and takers, the power of discernment, releasing trauma, and training your brain towards positive expectancy. And this month's expert guest is my friend and my business associate, somebody that I spend a lot of networking time with, Miss Jackie Simmons. And she is a stress management consultant, founder of the founding mentor of Givers University. She co-founded the Teen Suicide Prevention Society, and her TED Talk has been seen around the world. What I love most about Jackie is that her mission is to increase the optimism, hope, and prosperity of the planet. Like, we're not talking about just a group of people or a couple of individuals. We're talking about the planet. So I want to welcome Jackie. Thanks for coming back. Week 2.
Week 2. Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be here, Lisa. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. You know, last week we covered givers versus takers, identifying who we want to surround ourselves with and who we want to serve. Can you give us like a recap, like some bullet points of that, just so we can entice people to maybe go check out that whole conversation?
The difference between a giver and a taker is first understanding that that's shorthand for giver-like behavior and taker-like behavior. It's not judging the people, not putting a label on a person. It's just looking at discerning their behaviors and then making the choice. Does this person light up my life when they come into the room or when they leave it?
And you use that word discernment because that's what we're talking about this week. You know, for me, it's a natural fit to dive into the power of discernment next, because it goes hand in hand. And it's interesting that you said that givers and takers is about non-judgment, because when I looked up the definition of discernment, and I'm going to pull that up and actually read it to you here, discernment refers to the ability to judge and distinguish between different options or choices accurately and wisely. It involves having a keen perception, insight, and understanding to make sound judgments or decisions by carefully evaluating various factors or information. It often entails the ability to recognize subtle differences, nuances, and underlying motives that may not be immediately apparent in conversations with folks. It's a valuable skill that allows individuals to navigate complex situations with clarity and make wise choices for themselves and others. That's a bit of a lot. So I pieced together Webster and a couple of other definitions, just grabbing those words that kind of resonated with me, pulling them out. But givers and takers, non-judgment. It's just an awareness of their behavior, and then we get to choose who we want to serve and where we want to associate, or who we want to associate with. Discernment, on the other hand, there might be some judgment according to this definition, but I think you have a little bit of a clarity around that, maybe a little different take. So come on in here and share your place in the discernment realm.
All right. I love this conversation. I really, really do, because now we're into semantics and we're into meanings. And let's start with separating out the people who we love. The people who we love. Givers University helped me get better language around this. Imagine living in a world where you loved unconditionally, loved everyone, and being able to separate out the human, the person, from their behaviors, which you may not love. By the way, this is like parenting, to the max, wish I had had this when I was a parent, so that it would be easier for me to say, I absolutely love you, and this behavior is not acceptable. So it's different when you're a parent, because we have to teach those kinds of things. When we're adults, discernment is saying, oh, they're behaving in a way that is dimming my light or dimming the light in the room. They're behaving in a way that is bringing up something in me. Is this about me or about their behavior? That's discernment. It is absolutely observing and then bringing in some wisdom, being able to tease it apart. Okay, is this because I've got some mental and emotional trash in my past and they're reminding me of something that doesn't feel so good? Or is this that, wait a minute, this is their behavior. Now, then here comes the discernment. Is it a one-time behavior or is it a pattern? Because there's a difference between the person who ghosts me one time, or who shows up late for a meeting one time, who comes in with the thank you for your patience, I got delayed by this or that, I need to reschedule because of this or that. There's a difference in the behavior. If I'm just looking at, oh, they didn't show up, and judging that, I'm missing the power of discernment. Because there's always more to the story. And then it is, observing, is this a one-time thing or is this a usual behavior for them? Because those are two very different circumstances.
Right.
The journey into discernment. Imagine that discernment was not just a power, but it actually came with a promise. The promise of discernment is that other people whose behaviors are more giver-like are going to gravitate towards you. This is the question. What would your life be like if you were surrounded with more givers and fewer takers? Because what will happen is that the people whose behaviors are consistently uncomfortable, we'll say it that way, consistently not in service to the relationship. Because I'll tell you what, givers have 25 rules that we live by when we decide we want to be more giver-like. And one of them is to invest in relationships. Givers enjoy investing in relationships. They enjoy stepping up and being in that relationship. And where many people get confused is they confused giving with being a doormat. Yeah. And so I'm going to just go there with discernment.
Yes.
Okay. There's a difference between, any extreme. Overgiving is just as damaging to a relationship as overtaking is. Either one of those extremes destroys a relationship. So someone who is in, discernment around giving, invests in the relationship, even when that investment is, I'd love to have this conversation. I don't have time right now. Can we schedule time later? Because you have to give to yourself first. You cannot give to the world from an empty cup. We want people to give to the world from their saucer, from their overflow. So first is the discernment of, do I have the mental and emotional resources to be present for this relationship right now? And if the answer is yes, awesome. And if the answer is no, honesty.
Be honest. Yeah.
Discernment comes with honesty.
Yeah.
And being honest with ourselves first. And then it bounces out, because we're talking about personal relationships. And this goes into the impersonal relationships too. Who are you allowing to get information inside your head? Who are you allowing to brainwash you? And are they coming from a place of service to the world, or are they coming from a place of serving another master? Whether it's serving the self-interest of getting more views on their screen, like newscasters, for instance, their whole mission is to have more people watching. And once you understand that that's their mission, then you can discern, are they bringing value into my life, or are they just viewing me as one more number? And this is discernment. And the promise of discernment is that you will have a more peaceful and prosperous and optimistic and hopeful life. Yeah. That's the promise of discernment.
I love it. There's two things, unpacking everything that you shared. There's two things that kind of resonated with me. And the first one is some time ago, I had written down a definition that you had shared. I don't know, we were having a conversation about this, and I have it here. You defined discernment as a superpower of being present to what someone means by what they say. Words are a powerful gift. The power of words happens when they are directed into our head. And you just said, it's like, what are you letting people put into your head? And how are you discerning that? Great example about the newscasters. They have all these, what are they, sound bites that they pull out, and it's like, life is about sound bites to get watchers. We as citizens, everyday people, we don't want to live our life from sound bites because it's not necessarily the true content. Like, what's the meaning, the definition behind what we're saying? Don't cause or force other people to read between the lines, because our brains can get ahead of us and make stuff up. We want to use our words. We want to be clear and concise so that the person on the other side doesn't have to tax their ability to discern, which brings me to my second point. I should let you comment on this, but I'm not. I'm going to let you run with both of them. The second one is, when I thought about the definition of discernment, I thought about me. I've definitely struggled with discernment. I often ask people about that, people who I see who have great discernment, and mostly, a lot of this is from a Christian perspective because we use that word in church a lot. But as someone who does struggle with this, I often find I'm making choices or making a decision from a place of fear, like not clarity, not sure, or I'm doubting my decision. More so when I was younger. I'm a little bit more confident now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I'm not alone in this, or, I think other people have had this experience. So how do we tie these two pieces together? We want to create clarity so that other people, if they struggle with discernment, know have certainty about who we are and what we're speaking, what we're saying. And then also, like, what's the food we're putting into our own brain? How are we talking to ourselves? Like, by using the word doubt, I'm doubting myself. I can't make this decision. We need to get into a place of confidence. That's why this is called the Audacious Confidence Series. So maybe tie those two together, or you can separate those two bullet points. Come on in.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into sound bites.
Yeah.
Bumper sticker philosophy. It's actually one of the things I'm known for, taking complicated concepts and turning them into things that are clear and universal, concrete, picturable. We call it cupping: concrete, universal, and picturable. So here's what this looks like, to take this and make it really simple so it's a cup people can drink from. Imagine you have a friend, and every time you see them, they have something positive to say. And then you're at a party and you see your friend standing with a group and everything coming out of their mouth is negative. Who are they? Well, on the journey to discern whether someone is a giver or a taker, you have to understand that the vast majority of the world are fencers. They jump back and forth over that fence depending on who they are with. They are fencers. Now, remember, we're not judging people. We're judging their behaviors, not their words. Right? I'm going to be really, really clear, because as powerful as words are, the words are not what we're judging. We're judging the behavior. Because if we judge people by their words, we don't know as much as if we are looking at what actions they take. So what do you do in this situation? You just recognize that she has fencer-like behaviors, that she is going to behave differently. And I was raised to do that, by the way. So this is something that I am very, very familiar with. I'm an Army brat. I grew up in the backseat of a car. I was the kid who was always starting in a new school, often in the middle of a school year, in small Southern towns sometimes. This is an uncomfortable start to relationships when you're a kid, because the cliques are already there, the community is already there, and here comes Jackie. And I'm the youngest in my family. So, all four of us girls were having our own experiences with this. What did I learn? Well, I learned how to be a chameleon. I learned how to fit in very quickly.
Mhm.
I learned how to adapt. This is a great skill until you're an adult. And when that behavior started being dysfunctional is when I was adapting to relationships that were actually damaging, not just to me, but also to my children.
Okay.
And so discernment came out of the destruction and the disruption that comes with hanging out with people whose behaviors are more taker-like, because we start buying into that. My biggest learning edge right now, believe it or not, is around this communication clarity, because there's a line between being direct, being clear, being confident, and being tactful. And so as I'm moving more and more into what I call higher ground, which means people are looking up, they're expecting me to lead, I have been called to be more tactful. Because while the people like the founder at Givers University said, Jackie, I love your directness because I have no doubt where I stand with you. So that absolute certainty and clarity, no doubt where I stand with you. And people who don't know you, it comes across as disruptive. It's not hitting the same way because of who's hearing me. And I'm like, okay, tact. What is tact anyway? So talk about discernment. I have now been challenged to discern, what am I going to say? How can I say this in a way that is going to be enrolling and engaging with the people I'm talking to versus calling people out, pointing out what's not working? You know, the very directness that got me here won't get me there. Leadership and discernment go hand in hand. The first person to lead is yourself. So confidence in your own ability to make a decision starts with, what's the reason I'm even trying to decide? Because many people spend a lot of their time, talent, and treasure trying to make decisions about things that are not theirs to decide. So I have a simple theory for this. It's called the ballpark theory. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. How do you know whether or not it's your decision to make? In every scenario of life, you're either the ball player or you're the club owner, right? So life is a ball game. As a new ball player, you get called into the club owner's office. He hands you a few sheets of paper to read and says, we'll get better acquainted, read these, then we'll chat. Imagine a ball player. He's been called up from the minors to the majors. He is all excited. He's so excited he can barely keep his assets in the chair. And he starts reading and he starts settling down. And he starts reading. And then he gets to the end and he looks up at the club owner. You know, I don't like some of these rules. And the club owner says, son, you have 3 choices. Option 1, you can accept the rules of the ballpark without conflict. Play ball, make money, have fun. That's option 1. Option 2, you can argue with the rules and create conflict. You'll still play ball. You won't make as much money because you'll pay fines for showing up late to practice and things like that. And you will not have as much fun. That's option 2. Option 3, you can get out of my ballpark. Whoa, you don't want to leave. What were those first 2 options? Option 1, accept the rules of the ballpark without conflict. Decide that you like them. Play ball, make money, have fun. Yeah. Or option 2, argue with the rules and create conflict. Now, the ball player spent his entire life dreaming of only 3 things: play ball, make money, have fun. Easy decision. He decided he liked those rules just fine. Yes, sir. Went on to have a great career. That's as far as the story went when I first heard it from a lady named Dr. Zanya, one of the first female platform speakers I ever heard back in the 80s. The other side of that story came about when I was dealing with my mama. Because when I went to visit my mama, whose ballpark was I in?
Hers.
What were my choices? I'd been teaching the ballpark theory for years as a business skill, adapting to the work environment. It never dawned on me to apply it to my personal life. So one day I decided what would happen. Because option one, accepting the rules of my mama's ballpark without conflict, is not how I normally related. I'm an option two kind of person, argue with the rules. Yeah. And I had 3 young kids. We're going to go visit my mom. And I'm going, okay, well, what if I just tried to be a better ball player and accept her rules without conflict? I did not tell my mom. I did tell my daughters. We're driving down. I got 3 girls. It's a 4.5-hour drive. By the time we got to my mama's, we were all on the same page. Going to grandma's. What are the rules? What are the expectations? Nothing changed except the conversation. Yes, mama, you want to go to the store in 30 minutes? No problem. Hey, kids, coats, let's go. Half an hour out the door. They turned off the TV. They put on their shoes. They got their coats. They were by the door before my mama was. Now, to say that my mama, well, I'll just say this. The change was so dramatic that the fact that my mama didn't have a heart attack from the sudden shift is a testament to her strength. Okay. And as long as I was in her ballpark and I understood that, and I didn't have any ballpark confusion, our visits went great for the rest of her life. One day it dawned on me, when my mama comes to visit me, whose ballpark is she in?
Yours.
This is where the rules of the club owner, the ball player has rules, 3 choices. Club owner has 3 responsibilities. And I had been a really absent-minded club owner. I didn't even know I had responsibilities. Responsibility number 1, know what your rules are. Put them in writing for yourself. Responsibility number 2, communicate them clearly. Do what the club owner does in the story. Give the rules in some way, shape, or form to your ball players, your employees, your kids, anyone coming into your space. Communicate clearly. This is back to your thing about clarity and confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one is the toughie. The responsibility of a club owner is to apply the rules equitably, not equally. Equitably, not equally. You wouldn't have the same expectations of your star baseball player as you would of your bat boy. In your home, you don't have the same expectations of a 12-year-old that you do of a 2-year-old. I hope. Yeah. So equitably, not equally. And this is where it comes into discernment. If I am dealing with someone who has the habitual behaviors that are more taking, more disruptive, more bringing the destruction and the feeling that nothing is going to ever turn out right, that sort of disheartened feeling. And this is how they show up. My rule is to respectfully distance. This is not somebody who's going to get an invitation to come to coffee with me anymore.
Again.
They're not, I'm not going to invite them back in. I'm not going to diss them. I'm not going to call them out. I am simply going to respectfully distance. That's discernment. Now, if it's someone who behaves sometimes this way, sometimes that way, I know one thing that I need to just be aware of. They will require management from me. If I am going to invite them to a party, I will need to manage who they're around. I will need to be mindful. If I'm going to invite them into my business, if I'm going to take them on as a client, they will require more of my energy, more of my conscious attention to discern which role are they in. Are they over here more towards Taker Town, or are they over here more towards Giver's Grove, which is a whole thing that I created to help me keep in mind, where are they in this mix? Applying my rules equitably, not equally. If they are habitually a giver, hey, come on in, let's have coffee. I mean, that's what you and we just connected immediately. We recognize that in each other. Bringing consciousness to being a good club owner meant that when my mama came to visit, the conversation changed. I did not explain the ballpark theory. I simply explained my rules as they came up. Remember, equitably, not equally. Yes, mama, you want to have breakfast at 7. We'll have breakfast at 6:30. Do you want oatmeal or eggs, or do you want to fix yourself something later? Options.
Yeah.
It's a big, if it was a kid, they wouldn't have the option to fix themselves something later, possibly. Yeah. Yes, mama, you want to watch your TV show at 7:30. We have to be on the ball field at 7 for practice. Do you want to come with us or stay here and watch your TV show alone? She had choices. And my ballpark rules stayed intact, which is very different than what used to happen. Because what was happening before is that when my mama would come to visit, I would contort my home to match her rules, much to the chagrin of my husband and my children, because they didn't know what to expect. Talk about being a fencer. My own rules changed depending on who I was with. And once I started getting this clarity, this being a little more discerning about my own behaviors, I got back something I didn't know I had given up: the power to choose. I can now choose. I can discern my own behaviors around certain people, around everyone. Am I showing up as a better version of myself when I'm with you? Or am I showing up as someone I don't want to hang around when I'm with you? Yeah, I mean, really, I could judge by my own behaviors. It's not about the other person. It's about me being a better club owner of my own perceptions, my own mouth, what comes out of it and how it comes out, being in control of myself. The ultimate ballpark is the one that exists behind your eyes and between your ears. And the promise of discernment is that when you start discerning how you respond to the different people you're around, you can make very solid, confident choices about how much time you spend around them.
We are running up against time, but we're going to go long today. So this will be we're going to go over, we're streaming live out on our social platforms, and we'll just have a little longer recording because I have three things came up this time. I'm trying to make notes on them. When you were sharing, you said I'm going to use my definition, like compliance. Like when people come to your space, if they're non-compliant, if they can't seem to adjust to those rules, I feel like sometimes I'm a nag about it. And I'm going to, mine isn't mama, mine's more of teenagers, in my space. And it's like, you need to put your dishes in the dishwasher when you're done with them. I don't want to come down and see a pile full of dishes in the sink, first thing in the morning. So when kids are here and they're spending time, I feel like a nag sometime because they can't quite figure out the compliance to the rules. So I would love it if you spoke to that piece.
You got it. That's easy. You ready? This is fast.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you being a good club owner?
How do you?
Communicating the rules clearly? Absolutely. You can have a snack, and the expectation is that you will clean up after yourself and all the dishes will be in the dishwasher. If you're willing to do that, then absolutely help yourself.
Yeah. And with teenagers, they don't always hear that, Jackie. Honestly.
Oh, yes, they do.
Like,
and yes, they do.
It over.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Here's what you want to repeat.
Okay.
I noticed the last time you had a snack, the dishes were left in the sink. Unless you are willing to take care of your dishes, you're not going to have snacks at my house.
Okay.
This is called logical and natural consequences. So putting your rules together. Hey, yes, you can have a snack if you agree to clean up after yourself and put the dishes in the dishwasher. If you leave your dishes in the sink for someone else to clean up, you will lose snack privileges at this house. Okay. And you give them the entire rule up front. And then you have to actually enforce it. Remember, the club owner, get out of my ballpark. This is where businesses are dying in our country right now, because club owners, business owners, are allowing disengaged employees to stay because they're afraid they can't replace them. And it's actually more expensive to keep her. When they say it's cheaper to keep her, no, it isn't. And when it comes to employees that are disengaged, and it's not your job to re-engage them, it is your job as the club owner to release them. But the real damage that's being done in our country, in the workplace right now, is when an employee has taken option 3 and they've left the ballpark and they forgot to take their body with them, and their body is still showing up collecting a paycheck. That's the discernment that I wish more business owners had, that they could start to discern when someone has really left the business emotionally and sometimes even mentally, and they are still collecting paychecks. Yeah, that's my definition of how to handle a disengaged workforce. Let them go get engaged somewhere else. If they're not feeling like they're playing ball, they're not feeling like they're making money. More importantly, they're not feeling like they're having fun, which means they don't feel recognized. Recognition and the ability to know that they contribute are 2 of the highest satisfaction factors in any job. And I used to be a human resources consultant. These are what people want more than they want money, more than they even want time off. They want recognition and the sense of contribution. That's what playing ball looks like. Making
Everybody wants to
money
be
comes
included,
second.
part of a group. It's a human condition. Most of us are not loners. We weren't designed that way. So we want to be part of a team, which leads me to my second question. And that was, can the rules constantly evolve, or is that confusing to people? Like, I didn't know I needed a rule around snacking because I grew up with it. It's instinctive to me. I don't have kids of my own. These are, visiting children. So I don't know if they know what the rules are. Maybe the rules are different at their house than they are at my house.
This is not evolution.
Okay.
Because the rules are the rules. You have
right, but I didn't know I
house.
needed a rule around that, is what I'm saying.
No, you already had a rule around it. What you didn't have was the communication of the rule.
Yeah.
You had that expectation that everyone in your home, you had the expectation in your home that everyone cleans up after themselves and puts the dishes in the dishwasher. You communicated that rule with your husband. You communicated, your mother communicated that rule to you.
Right.
You did not know that you must communicate the rules to new people coming in because you had the assumption that everyone had the upbringing that you did.
Yes.
That they were raised with the same rules that you have. This is also a big challenge in every household, in every business. We project onto other people our own values and our own rules. Oh boy. I had a period of time in my life where I was very engaged with the mental health community for my own benefit. And I had a counselor who said, Jackie, your life will get easier when you stop projecting your ability to perceive and to react onto other people. When you stop assuming that other people have the same skill set, the same values, the same rules, to bring it back to the clubhouse, that you do. The minute I stopped assuming that other people saw the world the way I do, then I realized, oh my God, there are 7 billion plus people on the planet, and I assumed that all of them saw the world the way I did. Well, how arrogant is that?
Yeah.
So I started getting way more curious and less critical. So if you're curious and you've got the time with the teenager, you could say, when it comes to snacking in the kitchen, what are the rules in your house? And you find out what their rules are. And then you go, cool. All right, we have an additional rule in our house. And I just want to make sure that you're willing to comply with it. So finding out what their rules are first, because teenagers are great. They know the rules. And they will push just like a 2-year-old. They will push. Matter of fact, they have the same vocabulary, just in case you hadn't noticed. 2-year-olds have 2 words, a 2-word vocabulary. No, mine. Those are the vocabulary of a 2-year-old. Teenagers, same 2 words.
Okay.
No, mine. What happens with working with teenagers is that we often try to treat them like adults, and they're not. Their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed. They don't have perception. They don't have the perception of time. They don't have the perception of change. So clarity is a must. Clarity is a must. And agreement comes from first listening without judgment. When you ask a teenager what the rules are in their house, don't suspend all judgment.
Yeah.
Suspend all judgment. If you can listen without judgment, then they can share without fear. They can speak their truth without fear to you, if you can listen without judgment. And then make sure you respond with love. And it is loving kindness to set the rules out clearly. That is kind. What is not kind is to let them cross the rule and snap them back. And if you didn't share that rule, you have no right to snap them back. What you have the right to say is, I just realized I did not share something with you. Do you have a minute? Let me share something with you. This is the rule in our house. No judgment about anything else. But realize, teenagers are a lot like dogs. You cannot punish a dog because they live in the now. Even if their behavior was 2 seconds ago, they cannot relate punishment and cause and effect here. You can only reward good behavior. Same is true with teens. Hey, I noticed that everybody put their dishes in the sink. I think it's time that we have movie and popcorn. Connect the dots for them. It doesn't have to be big things. They just want to be recognized for doing something right in a world that is so quick to point out where we're doing things wrong.
Yeah. I love it. And that answered my question on number 3 is, how do we create the clarity? Because sometimes I feel like I'm nagging or nobody's listening, or, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I'm disconnected, and me getting clear on what the rules are and expressing and telling and sharing what those are in a loving manner is where the clarity comes from. So it's not that they're not listening. I have not been doing my part in how I've been sharing is what's coming up for me.
And I'm going to insert one piece. You getting clear on your rules, you asking them about the rules they're used to, and then sharing what's unique about your household.
Perfect.
They need to be heard.
Yeah.
They need to be heard. And this is so critical now. So we all need to be heard just a little more accurately. But very few people are listening. We're so busy wanting to share what we know, thinking about what we're going to say next, that it's not easy to listen. It's a noisy world. So practice listening without judgment. Watch all of your relationships improve.
Get curious.
Get curious.
Yeah. Final thoughts on discernment. Did we cover the topic as you anticipated? Is there anything we left out that you want to share before we wrap this one up?
In a world that wants us to judge what's true and what isn't, I will invite you to remember there's always more to the story.
Yeah. Well said. There's always more to the story. And if you want to experience joy and personal fulfillment in your work, my team and I work to support business owners with simple solutions. We try to create clarity for you. If you could use a bit of advice on how to start or expand your business, let's talk about your business today. Go to Lisa Mosby, MOSBEY.com, lisamosby.com, and click book it to set a time where we can chat about your business and go deeper. If you would like to connect with Jackie and go deeper with her, she is a stress management coach and works with a lot of different businesses on creating clarity within their culture. Jackie, where do they find you?
Easiest is just email me, Jackie@JackieSimmons.com. I'm not as visible on social media as I used to be because of the noise, and I didn't feel heard. So just send me an email.
Yeah. Both of us, Lisa@lisamosby.com, Jackie@JackieSimmons.com. It's best to connect. I'm done with like the mass marketing. I want those relationships one-to-one. And that's exactly how Jackie and I connected. And we invite you to connect with us in that same way. Series, this is a series. We're doing this 4 or 5 times, I think. 5 times, I think. We're going to do 5 times. So next week, week 3, we are talking about releasing trauma. And I wanted to share a tidbit about it, but I'm not. I'm just going to say next week, we're talking about releasing trauma. If you loved what you heard from Jackie today, come on back. If you get a chance, show up live, because you can actually ask her questions when we turn off the recording. We stick around for about 20 to 30 minutes. So you have one-to-one time, private space with Jackie. So I would invite you to come back if you can do that. If you're watching the replay, just reach out to her through email and connect with her that way. Thank you so much for being with us today. We look forward to seeing you every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern on winwinwomen.tv. Come on back.